Welcome to the very first episode of A Seat at the Table. I am your host, Stephanie. This is a place where every story matters, every voice is valued, and every conversation has the power to inspire someone else. Today, I am talking to two incredible women who are balancing motherhood, work, and the everyday challenges of life. Welcome, Nicole and Megan.
Hey,
Hi, thank
everybody.
you for having me. Hi.
Can you introduce yourself, Megan, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, everyone. My name is Megan George. I go by Gan if you follow me on any of my social media. And I am the founder of Empress Almanac. It is a identity and self-recognition based platform where we deal with different modalities such as human design, tropical and draconic astrology. And our motto is to return to yourself. So we're always there to help women rediscover themselves. You're never needing to change or be someone different. It's just you have an architecture that God made for you, and we want you to rediscover that self when you find that you're missing. We have a show called "It's Really Not Me, It's You," and that's just like a visual one-on-one session with me that others get to witness women rediscovering themselves, so they can kind of see what it would be like to deal with me one-on-one if they didn't just want to go to the website and get their blueprint. And our website is empressalmanac.com. I'm also from Zachary, Louisiana. I'm a mother of two lovely boys that keep me on my toes, and that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Nicole, will you mind sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Smith Schultz. I am a stepmom to three boys and a mother to a 2-year-old daughter. I am a educator. I'm officially a school librarian, and I'm also the founder of my business, Books by Nicole, where I write children's books. As of right now, I have about five, and my book company. The goal of it is for children to see themselves in stories and to see their experience that they experience as children can be familiar with other kids as well, because I get a lot of my inspiration from my job as an educator. But most recently, my most recent book came from the inspiration of having my daughter, my 2 year old. So that's pretty much me.
You. So, ladies, I like to do a little icebreaker before we get into the conversation piece. So, what is one thing that you are grateful for this week?
Mm, This week, for me, I'm grateful for having just the extra time. It's summertime. Normally, it's just go, go, go the school year. So it's nice to kind of be at a slower pace than normal and just really enjoy my daughter because it's summer. She's not in daycare. I'm not at work. I'm not at both my jobs. I'm just at the one job. So I got a little bit of time, a little bit of time than normal. And that's nice. Just so I'm grateful for that this week. I'm able to slow down and just kind of enjoy her more than normal.
Okay.
For me, I'm grateful for health. I find like last week and early this week, I was just so physically exhausted and fatigued, and I was just pushing through and pushing through. But today I woke up and I just felt like, jovial. I felt happy and I felt healthy. And so I'm really just grateful to not feeling that energy anymore. And I'm thankful for that.
One thing I'm grateful for this week is you ladies here. I love the fact that I am able to sit here and do this episode with you two ladies. I appreciate it. And the fact that you two guys are in different states and we are still here able to come together and make a difference, and I'm grateful that something that we're going to share today will make a difference in someone else's life throughout the week. Well, thank you. All right. So, what is something about motherhood that no one prepared you for?
Childbirth. No one prepared me for that. I mean, I heard stories, but no one prepared me for that. It was very I mean, it was a good experience overall. I know there's horror stories. I didn't have any complications or anything. But I remember when I was around 8 or 9 months, I remember asking my doctor, I was like, can you just like cut it out? Can you just knock me over the head? I know they used to do that back in the day. Because I couldn't fathom how it was coming out. Like I didn't understand that. No one in my family. My mom had a C-section with me. My sister had a C-section with her kids. So no one could really explain to me how just natural childbirth worked, and I was scared. I was not prepared for that. But it was very emotional. The feeling of scaredness and just joy just at the same time happening. It's like a lot of emotions and no one prepares you for that. I remember crying and just also being in pain. It was just a lot. It was a lot. No one prepared me for that. That's probably the one thing about motherhood that I was not prepared for.
Thank you for sharing, Nicole. For me, and I had been saying that it was like the sacrifice that it really takes to be a mom, but right
Mhm.
now I'm really reflecting on the sacrifice was due to that postpartum period, and I think that sometimes each postpartum period, because I have two boys, right? So each postpartum period was different for me, but it's still so physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausting that you think, oh, once the pregnancy's over with, the baby's here, and then I can go about the good parts, but really it's tougher trying to get back to you
Mm.
after having that baby. And I think that I wasn't as prepared for postpartum, and even the second time around it felt like I was even less prepared for postpartum, because now I have added someone to the equation versus and then my oldest son, he still was in that, I want to cuddle, I want to be up under you, and it's like, oh well, now I have to give a little more attention to your brother. And so I think figuring that dynamic out, as we mothers have to do, I just really wasn't as prepared as I thought I was for how postpartum was going to affect me, and like the mental sacrifices I was going to have to make in order to prioritize them over myself.
Mm.
For me, one thing no one did not prepare me for was the fact of how to balance being selfish and unselfish. And that may sound weird, but I say that in a way of when we become moms, it's like we want to, everything is unselfishly, right? You want to make sure you're giving everything to your children, that you're always available to them. They are your everything, so they have full access. But as I grew as a parent, I realized there is times that I need to be selfish for myself, because if I don't stop to take care of me and my self-care, then I'm burned out and I have nothing to give the children. So it became a thing where I remember reaching a height in the career where I would come home and I'm tired, and I'm like, everybody is like, mommy, mommy, everybody's ready to pull for me, right? And so I had to have a rule in my house where when mom come through the door for the first 15 minutes, no one asks her anything. Just give her 15 minutes to come in the house and unplug from the day. And that was just sometimes just I needed to get through that door and use the bathroom. You driving home and
Yeah.
everybody's like, mommy, mommy, mommy. And I'm like, I just need to go to the bathroom. So just learning, no one prepared me that there will be times where I need to balance out being selfish and unselfish. And even now, my kids are older, but there is times now where I have to be selfish with my time to say, hey, you guys are grown. I know you need me right now, but I need you to kind of figure that out on your own. And then if you can't figure that out, then you come back to me and I'm trying to help you out with that. But it just like you said, everybody's pulling from you. You having a baby, so it is a lot. And then I heard you speak on postpartum, Megan, and a lot of people don't get the help they need when they're suffering from postpartum. And I think that's another part of when we're learning how to be selfish and unselfish. That is a selfish moment when you have to say, hey, I am no good to no one else. I have to pull back and get the help that I need for myself. So thank you, ladies, for sharing so much. So today we are going to talk about entrepreneurship, careers, motherhood, and balancing it all out. And one of the things that you see people a lot of times when they're doing entrepreneurship, you see people talk about like the struggles of it, and then you hear people talk about the good. Most of the time, we hear more of the good than the struggles. No one really talks about that woman who is a mother and who is doing entrepreneurship as well. So tell me, ladies, how do you balance motherhood with in work, business, and taking care of yourself?
Yeah, so for me, my business is fairly new. We're less than a year old, and not only that, so I'm managing that. I'm managing being self-employed as a master certified agent. So I have to put on seminars and presentations all in different cities throughout the state of Louisiana. Sometimes driving 2, 3, 4 hours away to do those, and then I have to, coordinate with my ex-husband and with my dad. I think luckily I have their support, and that if I didn't have them, I wouldn't know how to manage my schedule as much. So I think sometimes it's like having that outside support system, or being able to find that village or that community with who you can coordinate with, helps a lot, especially when you're trying to, on that path to entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And or at least that's what's helped me for sure. I don't think that I would be able to dedicate and devote as much time as I need to get the things I need done in all the areas of my life if I didn't have, at least that support when I needed it for the children. But yeah, it's definitely difficult. It definitely takes a lot of communication. It definitely takes a lot of tact. And then if something's gonna be on the back burner, and most of the time that's me. Most of the time it's my self care. And at that point, it's just like, oh, I just feel so drained or so depleted. And it's like you have to choose you today. Like you have to. And so that's I'm still honestly, and I think most entrepreneurs find themselves, even no matter how far they get in the journey, because they're adding services or they're shifting their offers or they're growing really fast, and you're starting to outpace your growth to where you were one person and now you're debating hiring out so that you have help. And so as you're making those big shifts and transitions, it's always just about making sure that you have some support, because without that support, things are going to fall apart.
And I don't think people realize how important it is to have a support system. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have a support system. So that's why we see a lot of like it's the mental health things that goes on in people's life, and people being burnt out and stressed out because they don't have a support system. So I think that that's awesome that you do have that support system that you can rely on. I remember navigating life, and at some points in my life, I didn't have that support system. My house, the people within my home was my support system. So we had to make our own little village and, do what we needed to do. But as time changed, and by the grace of God, along the way, I started meeting people where I was able to build some type of support system. So I do think that that is fabulous that you do have that support system. Nicole?
Yeah, I agree. Support is major. You need it. You need it. For me, I feel like I'm not balancing as well as I would like to, and it's something I've just come to accept. I feel like the scales are never going to be 50-50. Like they're going to be kind of swaying, and there's going to be times where one side is getting more than the other. So I think the beauty of it is to just know that it'll go back at some point, because I want to be the best mom, wife, school librarian. Like I just want to kill it at everything, and then I also want my business to take off in a way where it's as if that's my full time job. I want to have two full time jobs, and if that makes sense. And it's hard. It's definitely hard having that balance, but I think I've gotten better at accepting it, because before the guilt of it used to affect me, because then I would feel guilty about being on a call instead of sitting with my baby, or the household isn't being taken care of as I would like because I got to do this, or I got to stay after school to do something when I want to be writing another book. So it's difficult. It's difficult, but I definitely think that just accepting the fact that it's never going to be 50-50. Some days you're going to have more on your plate in one aspect of your life than the other, and just know that it's going to come back.
I think this summer, so I'm not working during the summertime. So I think this summer I've been trying to find that balance as well. So one of the things that I've done is create me a schedule, because I realized that a lot of times we do ask for this downtime, but when we're so busy to being movers and moving and moving and moving, when you get that downtime, it seems so weird. So for me, it's like if I have too much time on my hand, I feel like I'm wasting. It's something I could be doing. I'm being wasteful with the time. Let me see what is something I can conquer, what is something I can create, what is something I can finish, what is something I can start. And that's always me. So when I realize these things about myself, it's like, okay, how can I make the best of my time? And Because I'm one of the people, even at work, I used to wait until the last minute for deadlines. But then I realized it was just like the procrastination of the fear of failing. So I wait until the last minute because I don't want to fail. So that's like one of the struggles that I struggle with. And so I'm like this summer I've really created me like a schedule on how to balance out my time. Which leads me to my next question for you ladies. What is one of the things that you find that you do struggle with being in entrepreneurship or in motherhood that you feel like that you can work on to become a little better? Like we know that we have moments where, like you said, Nicole, you don't feel like that you're going to have that balance, and it's always going to be something. But what do you find to be your biggest struggle? Where you feel like you can do better at?
Mm, I see. It's funny because if my husband was here, he would say being married. He'd be like me,
Well, mine would say that too right now.
but I like you're fine. You'll be all right. My biggest struggle, I just really the timing of it. Time is always getting away from me because you feel like, and I'll set timers when I do stuff, but then I always go over the timer. I always give myself extra time, and I need to really just stick to it. You know what I mean? So I think for me, I really struggle with time. Even if I say like, okay, I'm only going to work on this and this between 2 and 4, or okay, from 6 to 8, I'm focused on the house. I'm knocking out these dishes. I'm doing my like, but I'll go over in some way. So I think I just struggle with that because in my mind, I think I got it down, but I still struggle with keeping that time because the keeping the time will help me stay on task and focus. But I always been.
Okay. How about you,
Yeah.
Megan?
My biggest struggle is going to sleep. Like I think that, and that goes once again with that time, because for me
Mhm.
I need things to be quiet. I need not to have any clients or my children up and needing me or my attention. And then I'm my most creative. It's like in that space of just like that stillness, I can really like hear the Lord. I can hear my own thoughts, and I'm just sometimes I'm just doing things, and even getting sidetracked. I think I'm always like, like you were saying, Miss Stephanie, it feels like there's always something to do. But when you're really creative and you love to write, or you love to things just pop up in your head and you're like, oh, that'd be a fun story, or oh,
Yeah,
that's a cute song. And it's like you
Yeah.
shouldn't be writing a song right now. You have this you need to be filing. So I
yeah.
think that that's my number one struggle is sometimes I'm too creative and I need
Mm.
to figure out ways to ground that better instead of always like taking that time and staying up late at night, and then I wake up in the morning and now I'm more tired, and now my morning's kind of off, and it's like, but I'm proud of myself because I did something great last night, but
Right.
also I should have went to bed like I said I was going to do. And so I'm never in bed when I'm supposed to be in bed, and that's my number one struggle. I need to take some time and go to sleep and do all those creative things on a proper schedule.
Correct. And you know what? You both said something where, so with Nicole, when you spoke about time and you spoke about if your husband was here, he would say you struggle with time. I think regardless, when you're a creative person and when God has given you this vision and this purpose, no matter if you're your husband, your partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend, children, whoever, it's going to be something which you're going to struggle with that time, because when you get into your creative space and you go there and you get it done, and so it's like, let me do it while it's there. And then Megan, to piggyback off of something you said, like you said, you know you should be sleeping, but you're up writing, and that just took me back to a place where I can recall times where I'm doing laundry, and as I'm putting a pair of jeans in the wash machine, a whole book pops in my head, and I'm writing a whole script in my head while I'm doing laundry, and it's like, oh my God, I need to stop and do this. And so then the load gets put in, and I don't know if it make it to the dryer that day because then I'm at the table and I'm doing something else. But again, it's time, and we all have that in common. That when that creativity gets to flowing, it's
Hmm.
like you don't want to lose that creativity. You want to keep that
Yeah.
momentum up. So you're doing what you do best. So I don't feel like we're doing anything wrong. It's just us just trying to find that balance, a balance in life. And I think a lot of people struggle with balance in life, rather they authors or just working a simple 9 to 5. Some people just struggle with the balance. Lately, my thing is I'm doing something and I get distracted. I'm like, girl, put that phone down. Get focused, get focused. So I'm talking to myself like, you're not supposed to be doing this. It's 10 o'clock. But that's what it's becoming. Like you said, finding that balance and everything when it comes down to it. Have it ever been a time that you wanted to quit? And if so, what kept you guys going? Rather quit your vision, quit your job. Sometimes, hey, we may want to quit motherhood on certain days of the week. But what kept you guys going? What kept you guys motivated?
My motivation comes from the people around me. My support system is really, really great. I feel like I have no choice but to be great because of my mother. I know like all the sacrifices she has for me, and she's like constantly motivating me. My grandmother who passed, she was my like top motivator. Like she was always challenging me and saying things to keep me focused. Um, and there was this one time where a former student, had to do a Black History Month project, and she had to pick a person, and she asked if she could do me because she knew that I wrote books on the side and things like that. And that just made me just so happy because you think of Black history, you don't think of little old me. There's like so many other people she could have done, but she wanted to do me. And when I asked her why, she said because she was tired of the struggle. She was tired of hearing all these old history stories of what happened, and why can't I just have someone that I know that looks like me, that is doing something and is positive. She didn't have to like, get hosed or something like I don't know, but I got where she was coming from, and I really thought that was nice. And I look back at moments like that. Like I keep a little what do you call it? Like a little memory box. So when kids write me notes, or if someone gives me a review online about my book, or just moments like that. So I have my support system with my family, and then those little trinkets from my box that kind of keep me pushing.
And that was a proud moment for her to ask you, can she focus on you?
Yeah.
That's when you know that you're making a difference. Sometimes we get in this and we do this work and we really feel like, are we making a difference? Are we really doing this with a purpose? So
Yeah.
to have her ask you that, that's when you know that you are really touching the lives of the people just around you. So keep
Yeah.
going, Megan.
Yeah, and similar to that, it is the people who lives I have touched or help awaken them back to themselves, and their responses to me are like, "Oh, you came at the perfect time," or I had one client that she was experienced like where she was idolizing about suicide and hurting herself,
Mm.
and she was like, "Man, you came and God gave you the message to give to me, and now I feel so much better." And so when you're hearing that type of feedback, it just pushes you to like even if I'm not financially where I want to be in this industry, if I don't feel like I have the recognition that I thought I was supposed to have, the lives that I am touching is on purpose. And so you just got to keep going. So for me, it's just having that clarity of knowing that I'm in the right space. Yeah.
So I would say I've had times where I had wanted to quit, just because I didn't. And sometimes I didn't even believe in me. I didn't even believe in me, and I had to have those conversations with myself. Of girl, you got this. You can do this. It just looked like I didn't see that light at the end of the road. But what kept me going is I'm one of the people where if you tell me I can't do something, I have to prove you wrong. So even if I'm not believing in myself right now, the fact that you think that I can't do it, I'm gonna go ahead and want to do it because I have to prove you wrong. And that's just me. And I mean, some people may say that shouldn't be a reason, but that is my biggest motivation outside of my children. Some days I look at my kids because they are grown and they do have their own lives. And I be like, do they even see me anymore? Like as I'm because I'm not needed as much as I will. I'm not gonna say as I would like to be needed because I love that, but I'm not needed as much as I used to be needed. So it's like when I do something now and they see it, and I get my one of my twins to be like, "Mommy, oh man, you did this!" Like that. That's what makes me proud. Just the fact that some days I'm like, I don't never have to sell a book, but I want to sell a book. But I'm like, you look at your kid and your kids see your book and they just like, man, my mother did this. So that just keeps me going. So it's like if I don't sell a book that month, I accomplished something in that month just to see the smile on my child's face to say, hey, mom, you did that. So that's what, those are the two things that definitely keeps me going. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what is some advice you would give your younger self?
I'm so happy you asked this question. It's ironic because I was editing a clip that I had filmed today, and I literally said on the clip, if I could go talk to my younger self, I would tell her, you're not being honest with yourself about the things you don't like, and you need to stand up for yourself more. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like, oh, okay, that's what I would have told my younger self. Like, yeah, in my 20s, in my teenage years, I was such like a people pleaser and needing that external validation to where I'm putting myself in situations or holding on to relationships and connections that really weren't aligned for me.
Mhm.
And I ended up getting hurt. And it's like a lot of that hurt could have been avoided if one, I was being honest with myself and had higher self esteem, higher self worth, and knew that, like, you're taking on a lot that you don't have to be taking on. So I wish I had received that clarity earlier. I mean, now that I'm from a healed place, everything's on purpose, right? The Lord works everything out for our good. And so I know that it helped make me the person that I am today, and so anchored and rooted in my identity and in myself and how I value myself. But if I could go back and give myself a heads up, it'd be like, girl, change now. Like, don't subject yourself to all that.
Fact that you said you recognize the fact that you felt like you weren't being honest with yourself when you were younger. I like that. You touched on self-esteem, and a lot of us brown girls, we struggle with self-esteem, and it's not so much because it's not always that we don't like ourselves. Sometimes it's just the culture and that we grew up in,
Yeah.
with the skin colors and things like that. So I like that. I like that you touched on that. Nicole, what about you?
I would go back and tell myself to seize opportunities if they make sense.
I bet.
Because it's at the same time, I didn't want to be so. I felt like sometimes if I rush to do something, make a decision or a choice, 9 times out of 10, it ends up being something terrible, and I shouldn't have did it. But then there's moments where I should have seized opportunities, and I kind of wish I would have. I think I would tell my younger self seize those moments because you never know. Like, there's opportunity. I had to study abroad in college. I didn't do it. There was a time where I had my first book done, and I was at a teacher convention, and one of the workshops, the head of Scholastic was doing it. So it wasn't until like towards the end of the session, I was like, oh, I'm like 5 feet from the head. Like, I should slide him my book. I don't know why, but I didn't do it. I just felt like, I don't know, I wasn't worthy. Like, this is my little old book. Like, no. So fast forward to now, got 5 books under me, and Dan Gutman, who's a children's author, he was at a bookstore last month, and I definitely was like, oh, I'm going. I'm shooting my shot. I was there. I got my book signed. I was like, hey, I'm a librarian. My students check out your books. By the way, I have a book. Can I give it to you? And he did. He took it. And not only did he take it, but he took a picture of me. He posted it on his page. Like, this is what I should have told my younger self, is to seize those opportunities when they happen.
If
It's
I had a
beautiful.
chance to go back to talk to my younger self, both of you kind of said a few things that I could tell my younger self as well. But the first thing I would tell my younger self is I will apologize to her for not loving her and believing in her the way I should have. I don't know why. I can't even sit here and give you like a reason of why I didn't. I just felt I just didn't. It wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And because of that, going back to what you said, Nicole, piggybacking off of not seizing those moments and missing out on those opportunities, that I could have had I just loved on me a little more. I would have took advantage of those opportunities and seized those moments. And then piggybacking off of what you're saying, Megan, as far as being honest with yourself, and not being a people pleaser, and for me, and trying to appease people, and doing that, I lost myself in not having the self-esteem to do it, where I think for me, a lot of when we talk about colorism and self-esteem and things that young girls suffer from, right? For me, whereas though, someone in my neighborhood who may have been darker than me may have felt like they struggle because of their skin color being darker, right? Well, with
Mhm.
me, I think a lot was I grew up in DC in a urban area, predominantly black, and imagine being the light skinned girl with red hair and everybody else is walking around with black hair. And so you
Yeah.
get these questions of like, are you albino? At the time I didn't even know what albino was, so it wasn't until later on in life I found out what an albino was. But I had enough sense to say no, I'm not an albino, but just growing up, just being different and kids not knowing how to treat a person who looks different. So because of that, I think that did cause me not to believe in myself or seize moments because sometimes I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to fade away into the shadow, you know.
Mm.
So if I had to go back and apologize, that is something I definitely would apologize to my younger self for. So thank you, ladies, for sharing. Uh, what's one lesson you learned that changed your whole life in business and in motherhood?
One lesson, I learned a lot of lessons because I'm hard headed, so it takes me time to learn things. I don't listen. But one lesson that has changed my life was a lesson my grandmother told me when I told her how I wanted to write a children's book. And she said to me, she was like, well, what's stopping you? And at the time, I was in grad school at night, teaching during the day. I was doing a lot, not to mention just living your life. So I'm like, I'm busy. But no, she made a lot of sense. Like, what was stopping me? So that was a good lesson that she gave me because that followed with her telling me to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to do. So you want to write a book, go to book festivals. You want to be an author, find other authors, like look them up. Like, what are you doing? So that was like the biggest lesson that has changed my life because I live by that now. Like I look up books of people who are doing what I'm aspiring to do and who are already doing it. I'm here with you guys. Like I'm trying to really embody that. And one lesson I got from motherhood, I guess just be present. Just be present and just enjoy it because it goes by so fast. And I see what they're saying because she's already 2, and I'm still reminiscing about just when she was a month. Like now she can talk back. She could.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh, she
it's
feisty.
just the beginning, huh?
You just at
Oh,
the beginning of the road.
Oh my gosh, that's what I thought.
easy. Yes, I'm trying to just enjoy these little moments now before she become, somebody I want to drop off somewhere. So now it's good though. Now it's good. But those are lessons I've learned. Enjoy the moments with her while they last, and to put myself in the room with people who are doing what it is I want to do.
I love it. And I love the thing, two things that stood out to me was surround yourself with people who are doing the things that you're doing. And I had heard that so many times you have to be around like-minded people, but sometimes we're scared to leave our circle. We're scared to jump out there. We're scared to take that leap. And so I believe in that. Like in this season, you have to surround yourself with with like-minded people. And then seizing the moment, being present in parenthood because we get so lost in our careers and what we're trying to get accomplished because we want to leave a legacy for our children, but then you realize that time does not stand still. I lost a son about 5 years ago in a car accident, and one of the things, my biggest regret was sometimes I would think back and think about times where I wasn't present, not because I was outside, but just because I was building a career, building a foundation, trying to get our family somewhere, and everything. And I was a single mom. So it's like, yeah, I'm a single mom. I have these kids, but I'm gonna show you I can be better, and my kids gonna have this and they're gonna have that, and we're
Yeah.
going to do it. So just seizing that moment, I like the fact that you said that staying present in parenthood. And I hope that whoever is watching and this recording, that they will understand and definitely grasp that staying present in the moment of parenthood. Megan.
So for me, as far as entrepreneurship goes, just really show up anyway, right? I know we have those moments, especially early on when we're establishing new businesses, where it doesn't seem like people are recognizing or supporting, and that's okay. You have to continue to be consistent. You have to continue to show up in the vision that's been planted in you, and nurture that vision. And you just got to keep showing up anyway. So that this journey of entrepreneurship has really helped me get over kind of like my fear of visibility. Like I'm still growing in how visible I am, but I was raised to be a very private person, and so it's kind of like a new version of me that is showing up and doing podcasts and putting myself out there, and it can be really uncomfortable, unnerving, because it's like a muscle. You have to train it because the old me would want to shy away, or the old me was like, well, that flop, don't do it again. But it's like, oh no, they just didn't see it, resend, so I think that's the number one thing. That's the number one thing entrepreneurship is, training in me, is building that muscle of being able to stand and be visible with what I'm doing. And even if nobody supports at the time, that's not discouraging anymore, versus old me would have been like, oh no, so that's definitely that. And then as far as motherhood, I would say establishing healthy boundaries. Like, I love my kids so much, but I'm at a point where I just establish boundaries with them. I communicate. I let them know, like, hey, this is where mom's level's at. This is what I need from you guys. I need privacy. I need space. I need this amount of time. Mom's going to give you all of her attention, but in order for mom to give you proper attention, I need this. And so, just learning that in parenthood, we need things too, and my needs are no less important than my children's needs. And so I just need to communicate with them, and they want to respect me. They want that leadership from me. But they don't, it doesn't benefit them for me to sacrifice all of my energy and all of my effort, and then I'm still showing up, but I'm showing up half-minded, or I'm showing up frustrated, or I'm showing up aggravated. And so instead of bringing that to them, I just communicate. I'm saying, like, mom's kind of grumpy right now because mom didn't get her sleep, and that's not y'all's fault, but this is what mom needs, and then mom will be more present with you. And so, like, just establishing those healthy boundaries is helping me in that area.
I like
Yeah.
that.
I like that, especially when you said establishing healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
and one thing when I look back over parenthood that I wish that I could go back and change is, like, we hear a lot about gentle parenting now and things like that. And in the era that I grew up with parenting, it was no gentle parenting in that era. It was, you do as I say and you keep going. You be seen but not heard. Well, go on in this house, stay on in this house. You going to grandma's house. This is that. I cooked this for dinner. This is what you're eating. And you're looking to fast forward to this generation where it's time you cook, and your children and ordered some. Well, if they're teens, they might have ordered them some DoorDash, and you don't cook the whole meal in the house, or you cook something and they don't want it, or you think about the peanut allergy, right? Just going around so fluent now. Because back in the day, we didn't know who was allergic to peanuts. You ate everything. You ate your friend, and now in that school, you can't share your food. But back in the day, hey, can I get a cookie? Can I get. So you think about all those different things. So, like, when you're saying establishing the healthy boundaries and being able to have your kids communicate, you're raising some effective communicators.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of kids struggle because they don't know how to effectively communicate what they and express their needs, right? You would
Yeah.
agree?
Right.
So
I
so
agree.
I like the fact that you're saying that, just establishing them boundaries where your child knows that mommy is here. I'm a 7 right now. Just give me about 15 minutes to come back down to a 3. Then we can
Yeah.
talk. We can have those conversations. Or mommy don't have the energy right now. I need to go recharge my battery. And once I power back up, then I'm able to give you what you need. So I love that. And I just look at the new age wave of doing things, and sometimes I wish that I could go back and do some of my parenting a little different. I don't believe in this world there's ever going to be a perfect parent. We're going to make
Yeah.
mistakes. A parenting is a job that you never gonna get right, because every day it's gonna be something different. But you
Something.
just got to go with the flow of it, and you got to keep on trying. So I'm like, I believe when they say you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So I've been
For
trying to
sure.
live in that season of, I know better, so let me see if I can do better, and not wait until they get like 40 and 30 and I'm trying to do better, and established all of these um habits or even toxic patterns that I may have passed on to you before, and I can sit here and be honest with you ladies and say, part of me being a parent, my children, some of their upbringing, they got the unhealed parent. So that unhealed parent passed on some unhealed things. But now the healed parent is trying to take that time out to break those generational curses, and correct those unhealed things and show them the different tools to navigate life. And I'm thankful that I'm able to do it now while they're still young enough to grasp it, and not be 30, 40, 50, and you're trying to fix something that's been what I wish the word inside of them growing
Yeah.
and just been fed and just
Yeah.
constantly growing, so I'm really glad to hear about the healthy boundaries. I think more people need to kind of take that advice and run with it and do it. So thank you for sharing that. What does success mean to you today? Or what does success look like for you guys? A lot of people, they measure their success by money. A lot of people measure success by popularity or being famous or things like that. I know for me, success right now for me looks like just me being proud of the things that I'm doing and knowing that I'm touching somebody else. Even if I only touch one person a day, but I'm touching somebody and I'm making a difference. That's what success means to me right now. Yes, I would like money. Yes, I would like to leave my kids this big legacy, but the bottom line is for me right now, success just looks like that I am able to and put something in, impart something into someone else that's positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. For me, right now, success looks like life is able to run itself. So my business is able to run itself. I don't have to constantly be on Instagram making sure I get a certain amount of posts for my books and put myself out there. I don't have to necessarily be the one at the book festival promote my book. Maybe I can have someone have like a team hired under me. Um, my household runs great. Like that to me right now would be, I mean, the money and everything would be great too. But if everything could just run itself, because it does take so much out of us, especially with the timing and life. So, but yeah, if Books by Nicole could just be a well-oiled machine, that would be successful.
Love it.
Yeah. I will piggyback off that, Nicole, because I truly believe that like time freedom is my ultimate goal. So like that would be successful to me, like if I get to a certain level of income, of course, but at the same time, like knowing I'm in charge of my schedule, and that if I need a slower morning I can have it, or I need a day to rest or just to go get my nails done. It's not like I have to put truly myself on the back burner in order for it to feel like my life is moving. So yeah, like having that time freedom feels successful, as well as just being able to show up with my children how I want to and when they need me, versus like when I was working that 9 to 5, and in my last position we had to work 11 days straight, and so then we get a 3 day weekend off, and then it's back to the 11 days. But it's like by the time that weekend got there I was so exhausted, and
Right.
then things are going on at school during the week, and I'm leaving the house at 7 in the morning, I'm getting home at 7:30 at night, and it's like I'm missing so much of their lives and what's going on. And it's like I'm making an excuse because I could have been doing something about it, which I'm doing now. But at that time, it was like, well, mom has to work. And so I think, like, in itself, me having this, liberty where I can prioritize what I truly want internally, is success. It really feels like success right now.
Yeah.
One of the things that I heard you say, Nicole, when you were saying hire a team, to be able to have people to be out there and represent you and everything. I love that. And that's one of the things I think about often. I think again, it goes back to my old ways of kind of being self-sabotage because I'll say, I need to hire an assistant. But where do I start? How do I do this? How do I do that? And then I start getting in my own way, getting in my own head. Like, girl, you don't need that right now, or you don't, but I do. I remember years ago hearing TD Jakes, he was speaking on something. And one of the things he did say, like, as you grow, you need a team. You need to stop trying to do everything yourself. I think for me, the scariest part is, and you guys can kind of let me know if you ever struggle with this, is I feel like we're all creative women, right? I hear you guys say some you could be somewhere, you're brainstorming, a book dropping your soul and everything. And you want to get that out there, but then you also want to be careful who you're trusting with your vision, right? Because if they don't have a vision for themselves, how can they carry out our vision? So it's like now is you look, I think about celebrities when they do like the NDAs and they had people sign those. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, well, I don't have candy money to be out here asking people to sign NDAs. But now I get it. Like, but in my head, I must think that I have her money and I have to get these Indian, because if we don't think it to conceive it in our head, then we'll never get it. Correct?
Correct.
So I like that. That you guys have both given me like the courage that I need to say, you know what, you be thinking this now, and it's time to work this out.
Yes,
So
yes. And I'll challenge you. If you haven't read Rachel Rogers' book, you should read it
okay, okay.
because where did I go? Can you see me?
I see your icon.
Okay, there we go. Oh, my background's gone. Sorry about that. uh,
Definitely send me the text of that person in their book, because I definitely will look it up and get into that.
Yeah.
yes.
And then one thing I wanted to add too, Stephanie, because what you said was so powerful, but it's just a reminder that sometimes the things we do to protect ourselves can be what imprison us, right? So sometimes we have to step outside of that protection or that defense mechanism. And when we open ourselves up, it seems like maybe I'm opening myself up to disappointment, but that same door could lead to your greatest happiness or your next friendship or your next love or your next connection. So, just sometimes we have to take those steps in life in order to grow and get the gifts that God wants for us to have. Whether it's and sometimes those have to come through another person, right? So you have to kind of trust that if He sends that person to assist you, then they're who you need at that time.
Right. I love it. Yes, I love it. And I guess that goes into, I believe in God. I love the Lord, and I serve him. But some days my faith do get worried, and some days I have to again go back and remind myself, if he did it for me in this way, he'll do it for me in that way, and stop and I guess get in the season where I am, like you said, stop self-sabotage and get out my own way. This Facebook, get out my own way. All right, well, thank you guys. So my question is, what keeps you motivated when life gets hard?
Yeah, and again, so what keeps me motivated is just that I have clarity of my vision. So it's just that okay, in my past, right, I've always desired to be an entrepreneur. That's always been inside of me. And whether it was like I wanted to make jewelry and sell jewelry, I wanted to make bath soaps and sell those, I wanted to have a t-shirt line called Chatty Tees, and like I would try different things, but the motivation was simply extrinsic. It was, I saw this person succeeded in that, why can't I, type of attitude. But when you're doing something that's truly heart led, truly spirit led, truly given that inner vision and it's for you, then it's like, even though you haven't reached that level of success, it's going to come because you're so motivated internally. It's not an external marker that I need to hit. It's something inside of me that keeps me going. And so, yeah, just having clarity in that vision inside me is what really motivates me, that I know I'm living from a place of truth and where I'm supposed to be.
I don't know what's going on in my video, but you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna figure it out. But just really knowing my purpose. Like, I know this is my calling. I'm so passionate about literature and literacy and making sure that the love of reading, because I have it, is shared to young people. The author, Jason Reynolds, he said in one of his interviews, he said, your relationship, or no, your life is dependent upon your relationship with words. And ever
Mm.
since hearing that, I said, he's right. Because no matter what these kids want to do, whether they want to be the best YouTuber or content creator, whatever they want to do in life, they need literacy, which comes from reading, which is why I really encourage reading and pushing it, and just knowing that that's my purpose. That's going to keep me going when it gets hard. That's my motivation.
I love it. For me, my motivation is again just knowing that I can do it, proving myself right sometimes, because like I said, sometimes I sabotage my own self. And, sometimes I'm my biggest critic. So just being able to get out there and do it. My children is definitely part of that motivation, because I just want them to feel like that they can do it. If mommy did it, you can do it, as well as my grandchildren, just letting them see that like it's nothing impossible. It's nothing out of your reach, So I believe that they are my, again, no, I don't believe, I know they are my biggest motivation, And just to see the best thing I like about tonight is I'm sitting on here with two women who have children, who are out here and they are walking in a purpose and they are doing their dream. So you guys have now become part of my motivation because now I know, you guys have said some things tonight that has deposited into my life where when I leave tonight, I'll think about those things and and how to walk in my purpose from some of the things that you guys have shared with me tonight. Thank you guys again. So, so this is a question that I would like to ask everybody before we end the podcast. What is one thing that you are leaving at the table and one thing that you're taking away from the table?
One thing I'm taking away from the table is connection. So, like you were saying, Miss Stephanie, just like meeting Nicole and having this experience, it just shows that when you are willing to meet people where they are and trust people's process, even if they've never done it before, that is something that's powerful, right? That's how we build communities. That's how we build the future. It's just like trusting people and the vision that God has given to them. So I'm loving to take that from the table, that this won't be the first time that you know, respond to something that's going to lead to a greater connection, or lead to an opportunity where we can touch more lives. And then what I hope to leave on the table is that others feel inspired to chase your dream, feel inspired to take a risk on yourself, feel inspired to show up even when you feel like no one's going to watch or pay attention to you, because it just takes one heart that you touch that can turn into that butterfly effect, right? And now there's a tornado out in Kansas because of something you said. So those are the two things that I want to take and leave at the table.
Thank you.
I want to leave at the table my appreciation for talking to you ladies and being in the same space with you. And I want to take away just my gratefulness of moments like this and how it's adding to hopefully the trajectory of my career and my things that I got going on. And I'm grateful for it.
I am definitely taking away from the table tonight courage. I'm taking away more motivation than I had before. And I want to say I'm taking away maybe two new friends in my life from the table tonight. What I'm leaving at the table is I'm going to leave fear and anxiety at this table tonight because there's no place for that in my life anymore. I know that I can do this. I know that I'm walking in my purpose. And no matter how hard it gets, then I just got to keep on picking it up and keep on and keep on and keep on. So those are the things that I am definitely leaving at the table and picking up from the table. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me tonight. Before I go, I just want to say that I want to thank everyone who will be watching this episode at a seat at the table tonight. If today's conversation encouraged you, please subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who you feel like needs to hear it. And remember, no matter where you are and what you do, you always have a seat at the table. Megan, before you go, can you tell us your website and where people can find your books?
That's okay. So everybody, you can go to empressalmanac.com, and I have literally all of my offerings, my one-on-one sessions, and all of my books on that website. Or you can also go to Gumroad at Gan the Goddess, and you can purchase some of my other earlier works, like my Sitting with Grief workbook, as well as my Prayers for the Sensitive Soul.
Thank you. Nicole, can you let us know where we can find your books at?
Yes, you can find my books on Books by Nicole. I have a website, Books by Nicole. You can find it on glasswoodstoryworks.com. That's my publisher. Amazon, and all my socials are Books by Nicole.
Thank you. And you can find my books on Amazon. I'll be getting with Nicole soon so I can get my own website so I can sell
Yes.
my own books. But right now I am listed on Amazon. So again, I want to say thank you, ladies, so much for taking your time out of your schedule to be here today to speak with us. Thank you for sharing your stories. I wish you much luck and much success. And I hope to speak with you again soon. And you can always come back and have a seat at the table. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Yes.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.